Hi there, I'm Gemma, the face behind Suffolk to Oz. Alongside my husband, our adventurous 2-year-old daughter and our rescue pup, we're gearing up for the biggest move of our lives, swapping the Suffolk countryside for sunny Australia in 2026. If you're dreaming of making the leap too, join us as we tackle the tough decisions, the endless paperwork and all the exciting moments in between. Plus, we'll be sharing the special memories we're making here in Suffolk before our new chapter begins. I was just looking at this property, you won't believe it. So it was first listed for sale for $260,000, sold again in 2022. Wait for it. Good afternoon and welcome back to another video, another lovely warm day. So this video I thought I'd focus a bit on housing. So if you managed to watch my last video on the cost of living, I did briefly touch upon it there, but I thought it would be worth going into a bit more detail. They're just going up like crazy at the moment. I think I read somewhere that they went up like 40% in like 3-4 years, which I can't believe, but I'll tell you a story in a second of an actual real case study of someone we know where that actually has been proved true, so stick around. We are looking to buy when we move over there, and so currently looking at different areas at the moment that we could potentially move to. As I said, housing is super expensive. People think there's a problem here in the UK, but I think it's far worse in Australia. I think when I last checked, as of April this year, the average house price here was getting towards £300,000, which if you're working on an exchange rate of $2 to the pound works out at about $600,000. Well, when I last checked for Brisbane anyway, it was getting near $1 million now. So yeah, it is a bit more pricey. I know there's people watching this who probably say, oh, we managed it, or have you looked X place or looked further out, but we're just not prepared to make that compromise, unfortunately. We don't commute at the moment. I'm a stay-at-home mum and my husband works from home. We are willing to do a commute. That's one of the compromises, but we're not wanting to do a mega long commute. We both used to live on the border of Essex and London and commute into London. I was doing 3 hours a day, my husband 4. That's not something we really want to go back to, really. Again, no issue if people want to do that, that's absolutely fine. Everyone's different, but personally we've already done that and we didn't like it, so we're looking at anything that's commutable door to door of about an hour. Unfortunately, where we're looking at it would be potentially somewhere smaller than where we do have now, but again, we are more than happy to make that compromise. But it's just getting used to it, isn't it, really? But it's been interesting looking at Australian houses, how they are different to the UK. So if you're from the UK, you'll know what a bungalow is. So I'd say the most common type of housing in Oz is the equivalent of a UK bungalow. So it's living all based on one floor, whereas in Oz they tend to have a kitchen, lounge, diner, whereas in the UK you've still got your separate rooms, whereas shared areas like a kitchen, diner are becoming quite popular, and the kitchen, lounge, diners as well. I suspect the reason they're not hugely popular is because houses here are built to contain the warmth, and obviously as you open a space out to a large area, that's a bigger room to heat in the winter, so it's a bit harder to keep it warm. Other things I've noticed, and from our trips there, is you'll find like the toilet is separate to the main bathroom, which I think is quite ingenious, really. Your washing, you won't have a washing machine in the kitchen. Over there it'll be in the garage or in a utility room. You'll have like the doors that sort of keep the bugs out, sort of slider doors. I don't know what the proper name of those are, but shutters perhaps. You'll have those as well. The gardens tend to be a bit small as well, but new builds here, gardens are getting quite small as builders are getting a bit more greedy. But again, do you need all that space if you're living somewhere where the weather's lovely and you can go out all the time? So again, it's something to get used to, really. But again, not much different to the UK, really. I think it's more for British people moving, getting used to just living on one floor, but some people might say that's fantastic future planning, so but yeah, we'll see. So yeah, we've got a few areas in mind, so yeah, we're just going to have another nosy at those a bit later on in the year. So if you do hang around on this video, I will be going through some properties to give you an idea of what the Australian ones are like and compare those to the UK and sort of see what you can get for your money here over there and vice versa. So please do stick around. Yeah, lastly, for that story, I was just looking at this property, and yeah, you won't believe it. So it was first listed for sale in 2020, I think it was, for $260,000. It then sold again in 2022 for, wait for it, $860,000. And then when they sold again Jan this year, it went for $960-ish. So I just can't get my head around that, really, that since mid 2020, so that's what, just shy of 5 years, has gone up £750,000. Like, I just don't understand like how something can go up that quick. So it was in a suburb north of Brisbane, still close-ish to the city. I don't understand why it's gone up that much. So yeah, as I say, people think we've got a problem here, but I'd say that there's lots of different types of properties here that cater for different price points. Obviously we all want a particular type of property, we all have the dream home in mind, but there are ways to get on the ladder and work your way up. Whereas in Oz, like, it's, you know, a unit, what we're equivalent to an apartment here, a single story house, and then it's like, you know, townhouses. And a lot of the properties there, to be fair, do seem to be detached, because obviously they're built and they've got lots of space. But like everywhere, all the builders are getting greedy, aren't they, and trying to cram more in. So yeah, so even though this is our second home now and the equity we've built, we were still quite shocked that it might be tricky getting a property over there. But as I said, we'll see. My mother-in-law seems to think that the market might be turning. Time will tell, really. So I have to say, the weather has been absolutely fantastic here since we got back in February. So I think we had like a week or two where it's a little bit colder, and then we seem to have had this, well, they say it's a heat wave, but it's not really, is it? It's just warmer than usual temperatures that have been hovering around sort of the 20 mark. So yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic. So it's been nice to make the most of it if we do move. So I'm going to jump on the computer now, have a look at some properties and do some comparisons. So if you're nosy like me, then please do stick around. Right, hello. So now to look at some properties. What I'm going to do is, for the search criteria, put in the equivalent of the average house prices here for the UK. So we're looking at £268,000 and then £322,000 for the average for a Suffolk property where I'm living currently. So we're looking at the equivalent then of about $536,000 and $644,000. So let's see what we can get for our money then. So first area I'm going to look at is Wellington Point. So as you can see here, it's this area highlighted here, and this is where we are in relation to the CBD. So looks like it's a bit of a trek, but does look like it's going to be a really nice area right on the coast there. So I am expecting this to be a bit expensive, so not very hopeful, but let's see, shall we? Nothing is showing up for 500 to 550, so let's up the budget a little bit. So now we're going up to 650, and there's one piece of land here. So I did have a look. So the average house price for this area for a 3-bedroom, you're looking at $925,000, which is the equivalent of £462,500. So yeah, we're not going to get anything for that average house price in this particular area. So I've upped the budget a bit here. The thing I've noticed with real estate, unlike the UK, they rarely sort of advertise a price that the owner's looking for, but you can sort of find that out from having a play with the filters. But here in the UK, that's very unusual. You'll usually put a rough price that you're looking for your property. I've put in the search $600,000 to $700,000. So let's see where this property is then. Wow, okay. So it's right on that little strip there then. So I'm surprised you've got anything coming up on that price range then. Lovely. Right, let's have a look then. Okay, lovely. So potentially ocean views. Okay. Okay, so we can see whereabouts we are here. So it's a townhouse, 2-storey. Oh wow, lovely. Yeah. Really like the brickwork there. Looks very clean, and love the wood flooring and the stairwell. Yep, very clean. chic sort of looking kitchen there. I do find the kitchens seem to be a bit smaller in Oz, but then I have noticed they all tend to have pantries, so I suppose that's a way that they utilise the space there. Okay, lovely, yeah. So yeah, it doesn't look like it needs too much doing to it so far. Very light and airy. Doesn't look huge, but then townhouses tend to be a bit, well, particularly here in the UK, sort of more narrower, because then they tend to be 2 or 3 stories. Okay, so I'm assuming this is a bedroom, and then we've got a walk-in closet there. Okay, again, nice bathroom. Doesn't look like it needs much doing to it. Looks like there's an accessibility seat there. So again, I'm assuming if you don't need that, that could be taken out. But other than that, this looks fine. Are these like period looking windows maybe? They're a bit unusual. You don't usually see them that often. So yeah, we've got ceiling fans on there as well. So yeah, potentially maybe a lick of paint on these fascias outside. So I'm assuming this is the front of the property. So we've got some parking there. And then the rear of the property, it's got a nice covered decking area there. So again, not a very big outdoor area, but I suppose the weather means you can be out, you're going to be outside the house a lot, so it doesn't really matter. So here we go, here's a floor plan. So we've got a kitchen, lounge, diner there, and a couple of bedrooms and a main bathroom with the walk-in closet there. So yeah, so potentially if you're a smaller family, this might do, but most people, I suppose, will be getting work in the city, so it's a little bit more of a trek. But again, if you're happy to do that, or if that's something that you're doing a long commute here at the moment, then yeah, for the equivalent commute, you could be living right on the ocean. So just to add, I did have a look at this. So you're looking at a 35 to 85-minute drive to the CBD in peak traffic, and then an 80-minute train ride. Moving on to the next area then. So I've chosen Loganholme. So this area is south of Brisbane. As you can see, again, quite a distance from the CBD, potentially actually further than where we looked previously in Wellington Point. So yeah, I had a look at average house prices here. So for a 3-bedroom, we're looking at $710,000, which is the equivalent of £355,000. So a little bit more than the average house price in Suffolk. So let's see what we can find then. So I've popped in here the equivalent of an average house in the UK. So we are getting 1 to 11 properties coming up here, but not in actual Loganholme. So these are surrounding suburbs. Okay, so if we up the budget then to the equivalent house price in Suffolk, so $600,000 to $650,000, we are getting 16 properties coming up in Loganholme. So let's have a look here. So we've got some auctions, single story there. All right, lovely. So a mix here. It looks like some quite older properties, and potentially, there we go, some newer properties. And there's some variety there. Oh, okay, wow. This one looks fairly new. Let's have a look at this one then. So home view in Queensland. Let's have a look. Okay, so this is where we're coming up then. Okay, yep, still quite far. Okay, so it looks residential. There's a few things nearby. So this one then is 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. And this one is a house, detached house, so lovely. So let's have a look at some of these pictures. So yeah, wow, looks really nice. Okay, can already see that it's not going to be a very big rear garden. In fact, the front garden looks bigger than the rear, but as we said before, do we need all that space? Oh, this is a bit interesting. Looks like someone perhaps runs an online shop or something, or is a bit of a order. So yeah, nice big front living room. However, I've noticed there is that a fridge to the left there? It's got air conditioning. Right, so this looks like the kitchen diner. Nice little balcony area. Be nice to have some breakfast there in the morning. And that's a sofa. Okay, right. So this must be a kitchen, lounge, dining room sort of area. Okay, so yeah, air conditioning. I'm a bit confused. Is that a dining table, but they've got a bed there? Is this a bedroom, or have they just... Is it a makeshift bedroom? Huh? Okay. This looks like another kitchen. I'm really confused. Okay, so here's the outdoor area. Okay, right, yeah, this is evidently a bedroom. I've noticed this as well, some of the windows tend to be sort of long and thin. I suppose maybe that's to stop too much sunlight getting in, to keep the houses cool. I don't know, share your thoughts. Okay, so is this like a second kitchen area? I'm really confused. Okay, so some points of interest. Don't look like they're too far away. Okay, I've got no idea what this space is. I think we're just gonna have to wait for the floor plan on this one. It looks like an entirely different property, those couple of rooms. Okay, nice walk and shower. This looks like the main bathroom. Got a bath as well, always handy if you've got little ones. Another bedroom. Again, some other points of interest nearby. Right, okay, this is what we were looking for, the floor plan. So we've got ground floor then. Okay, yeah, okay, right. I'd say this personally is a two bed house. I don't see how you can have a bedroom, a bed in the same open area as a living and dining area and a kitchen, unless this is like, oh, what do they call them here in the UK? Like a I suppose it would be like a unit. Sometimes you do if you've got older relatives, so it's like a self-contained unit that's sort of part of the property. I wouldn't count that as a bedroom. Yeah, I'd have to do a bit more research on that one and perhaps ask the agent a few questions if this is one I was interested in. So you've got the laundry area there downstairs and a small bathroom there. And then upstairs, yeah, we have got the two bedrooms, but then there's another dining and kitchen area upstairs. Okay, this is really confusing. You don't usually get that. If this is a townhouse, usually in the UK, you'd still get only your one kitchen. It might be on the ground floor and a bedroom upstairs. Living space is basically spread across 2 or 3 floors. So yeah, I'm getting a sense maybe this was 2 properties, like 2 flats, 2 apartments, and they're now selling them both as one house. So yeah, it's a good space, but personally a bit of reconfiguration if you were to take this one on. I'm really confused by this one. It looked really promising, but I think I would steer clear of this one, to be honest with you. I'm not sure what's going on there, but again, that's what you can get for your money there. So this one is about a 40 to 85 minute drive to the CBD, and we're looking at 75 minutes on public transport. So yeah, let me know in the comments, what do you think about this one? Are you as confused as me, or is this what Australian townhouses are like? I'm just assuming they're the same as here in the terms of layout, but yeah, this one is flummoxed me a bit really. So yeah, on to the next one. This is North Lakes. So I hear that this is an area that a lot of Brits end up moving to. So it's a big expat community here. So just to show you then, so this is north of Brisbane. Although my husband would say this isn't Brisbane, being Aussie. It is in Brisbane, in the perimeter. But when I tell him about it, he's like, yeah, we wouldn't class that as Brisbane. But anywho. So yeah, it's a bit far out, probably similar to where we looked before, that Redcliffe area. So yeah, our average house prices in this region then, so for a 3 bed we're looking at $750,000, which is the equivalent of £375,000. The first one we've put in then to 500 to 550, nothing's coming up. And we are, don't forget, going a bit further out from the city here, all these properties that I'm showing you. So around an hour-ish from the city. So let's have a look at the next budget here. Okay, so this is 600 to 650, so similar to the average house price for Suffolk. Nothing is coming up, so I've had to up the budget a little bit here, and I managed to find just this one. So this one was coming out at the $650,000 to $700,000 sort of area. And the equivalent of that is £325,000 to £350,000. So a little bit more than the average house price here where I am currently. So this one here then is 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom. So let's have a look where it is on the map. Okay, so yeah, close to the highway, the M1 there, if you're driving in. Not too far from that Lake Eden, looks really nice. Okay, so it's perhaps more south of North Lakes. And we can see there's a couple of Mango Hill station there. Again, I don't know too much about the trains and things, but yeah, there's one near there, so let's take a look then. So again, this one looks nicely decorated, but already can tell just by looking at the air conditioning unit, perhaps there's a bit of an older property. So let's have a look then. So we've got a nice lounge area here and a dining area. So I assume this is going to be a kitchen lounge diner. Let's have a look. Okay, yeah, nice. Yeah, it looks like potentially a kitchen lounge diner. So yeah, what I have noticed from sort of in-laws that have sold, it's quite common in Oz to stage your home when you do an open house. So you'll be renting furniture to make it look the best it possibly can. Again, that's not something you typically do here in the UK. I suspect if you do, it's when you're talking mega bucks for a house here. So yeah, an okay kitchen. Doesn't look too new, doesn't look too old either. So you can easily make do with that for a while. Oh, nice bedroom. This is probably the nicest room so far. Looks like a newer air conditioning unit there. And a nice little balcony area. Nice bathrooms. This looks like this was more recently renovated. Okay, again, not too bad. Nice size it looks like. Okay, so yeah, this is a townhouse, I think it was, wasn't it? So let's have a look. Yeah, got a garage there. Some nice parking. Okay, so it looks like it's part of this region, Lakes Point. Let's see if we can find out some more information. Ah, right, okay, so this looks like a shared pool area. Right, here we go. Here's the floor plan then. So, yep, looking at 3 bedrooms there. We've got a laundry room. There is an ensuite and then a main bathroom as well. So, yeah, this looks all good. Okay, again, not a huge outdoor space, but that's pretty typical, I think, here in Oz. So, let's have a look then. So, I'm assuming then this is part of a development, so you'd have to pay some fees. Ah, here we go. So, it's a well-maintained complex with swimming pool, gym room, and low body corporate fees. Okay, so that would be the equivalent here in the UK is like your lease. It'd be a leasehold property, so you're paying like the maintenance fees every year. So it'd be interesting to see sort of what those are roughly and how much they can potentially put those up every year. Because I know here in the UK a lot of the time they're not capped. You can get something there just a little bit above the equivalent where we are currently here in the UK. But again, this does involve some fees, body corporate fees. So yeah, so these are 3 areas. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. So this one in particular then, this one we were looking at a 40 to 90 minute drive to the CBD. So these are door to door, according to Google. And then you're looking at a 65-minute journey by public transport. So again, this is peak time. So yeah, so that's the 3 properties then. So it's interesting to see a little bit more about Australian housing and what you can potentially get for your monies. So I hope that's been useful. Please let me know in the comments what you thought about these 3 areas and if there's any areas that you'd like me to look at. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you again.